This is involving a United Methodist Church in Marion, Indiana, called Christland United Methodist Church. And I'm going to show you some pictures. Jan and I visited this place. They have a mission warehouse there. And Christland United Methodist Church is a combination of a couple of small United Methodist churches in Marion, Indiana that came together and then built a new building that looks like that. It's very nice inside. We happened to run into those people that are there at the end of the building doing landscaping. They were members, very involved members, and they took us inside and showed us their new building because the old building stands a few blocks away on a corner and has been sold off to an apostolic church. But the warehouse is this building. It's a storefront that's right across the street from the old church building. It's a little white building. This congregation is not as big as our church in terms of membership and attendance. This is a small church, and yet they're doing this fantastic mission project. A couple in this church owned this. This was a corner grocery store way back, and it came in the possession of the church. And ever since, this has been going on now, this mission project for, well, at least since the late 70s, early 80s. It began at Fowler, Indiana, by the Fowler United Methodist Church, and they got out of it, and this Marion church took it over. But the Fowler Church was a small church too, but they have done great things. Inside, they collect, well, it says on the back, the letter part on this tells you what they collect. Clothing, infant, children, adults, teens. Shoes of all sizes. These are bags of clothes, these white bags. Shoes they collect. And then they pack shoes in boxes. Bandages, material, and sewing items. In fact, they had, 3 or 4 big commercial sewing machines there that are going to be going overseas. Bedding and linens, trimmed and untrimmed stamps, and that's where we come in. They pack all this stuff, the shoes. I tell you, it's a group of little old ladies.
Our peers.
They really, most of them look like they could be our parents. But anyway, they pack it. This is the fella whose wife's parents owned this grocery store, and they've been in this church forever. But he's kind of the organizer of it, and I think he's the lay leader of the church too, if I remember right. But they pack all this stuff, and then it goes into a container, and they buy 1 to 3 of these containers a year. This little church does, and they pack it, and then they ship it to our United Methodist missionaries in Africa. And what happens is these used stamps that we collect and take to them or mail to them, they package in 10-pound boxes of stamps. I don't think we had a picture of that. And these 10-pound boxes get sent and sold to stamp dealers and stamp collectors around the world as, an unsorted mixture. But stamp collectors love to sit down with a pile of stamps and just go through it. So anyway, that money that they get from those stamps helps in the shipping of these containers to Africa. Now, this little church has developed a big network of individuals and churches around the country that help them with this. Send them shoes, send them clothes, send them the packing bags, send them money. And let's see, it costs, $4,000 to buy a shipping container?
Right.
And
16 to ship it.
16,000 to ship it?
So they're doing, just in the container alone, 20,000 1 to 3 times a year. This little tiny church. And they've been doing it for years. Our stamps help to ship these over. That's what the stamps do. So, here's some of our stamps. This is oftentimes how stamps come to us and get put in here. They are, torn off the envelope. But these are bad stamps. Bad stamps. And the reason they're bad is because they have rips and tears, or they're into the perforation. You know what the perforation is around a stamp? The jagged ended ends? Well, notice that stamp up there is completely torn. This has got a torn edge. This has got tear in the perfs, and the perf is probably destroyed on the back because the paper's been ripped off of it. Stamp collectors want a stamp that is whole and complete. And so when we send these, we need stamps that are whole and complete. Most of us don't get near the number of postage stamps we used to. Email, Twitter, Instagram, those kind of things have taken over the first-class mail in a lot of respects. But still some comes. Not-for-profit groups send out stuff with stamps on them. And plus you probably get Christmas cards and things like that, birthday cards. If you have some really old friends, they might mail you a note here and there. But we still get enough that makes it worthwhile to do this. So, did you have any questions about this part and about the church? They were just having a new change of pastor when we were there, and they're hoping to get a good one. So I told them we got one.
He's not for sale.
No, we didn't tell them your name.
This would be in the Indiana conference, so their pastors we wouldn't get, and they don't get ours, so because we're Wisconsin conference. Well, I'll show you another picture. These are bad stamps too. Same reason, torn, you know. Even though the paper is enough around 3 sides, there isn't enough on 2 of the sides. Of course, the one stamp is completely torn.
So these stamps you would not save?
Right. These are trash. These just go in the wastebasket.
Okay.
Okay? That's a good stamp. Good stamp. This is a pre-sorted too, first class. It would come on bulk mailing kind of things. But that's a nice looking stamp. It's clean, but there is enough paper margin all the way around. And this one is a trim stamp too. This is how you want your stamp to look when you bring them and stick them in the can. So you want to trim them so there's like about 1/8 of an inch around the stamp that's whole. There are times too with first class stamps when a cancellation is extremely heavy on it. Most of them are machine canceled, so they're fairly standardized, but every once in a while you get them that are really smeared up, and that's a judgment call. I've known people that collect poorly canceled stamps just as a side light in an album, you know, from their main collections. But that's all the pictures. So we've got a little exercise for you here, and scissors. If you want to open your packet, these are stamps that have come here to the church recently, and sort through them, see if there's any that are going to be good enough to.
Yeah, there's some bad ones. It's a mixture of good and bad stamps, so don't be surprised.
Wow, not
Yep.
that one.
That's good.
Me too.
What, hand cancel?
I'll put the good here.
Oh, those are probably the ones.
This one's iffy, but it's good.
Yeah, this one's iffy. I'm
This one's good. I think it's got a rip at the bottom, but it didn't hit the stamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this one's
That
okay
one,
too.
they've actually cut into the perforation down here and up there. So that's,
That might be okay.
now
Those are no good.
this one actually would be okay.
That's a nice stamp.
The reason I know that
Well,
is
it's
because
like a
old
sea
enough
life
for
or a sea
soakable
creature and it's
stamp. It'll soak
fluorescent.
right off the
They're
paper.
kind of fun to look at.
That stamp collector wouldn't have a problem. I would trim it a little, just a little, to square it up.
It's an octopus.
Well, because it's prior to like 2006, 2005. Once we went to self-adhesives, you can't soak them. You can use some chemicals on them sometimes to get them off, but it's a pain. So most of us are collecting used stamps on paper. With a nice little margin around it.
Okay.
So do we trim them all here in Rhinelander before we mail them down,
Yes.
send them down there?
Yeah.
So is that what Gwen's been doing?
Uh,
Isn't Gwen the one that's in charge of this project?
I don't know. It's kind of,
Yes.
it was Rita, Marita, and Marita asked me to take it back over, and I saw it.
I thought Gwen Kercheski, maybe I was mistaken.
Mark's dad did this project.
The sports one, these three sports are good.
He also collected them over the years, and
Yeah,
All there.
when he
It's all
died, we
there.
ended up
So
with
with
all
the
stamps.
good stamps, we
We have box after box of these, and so sometimes we'll sit there, especially in the winter,
put them in there.
and
Do
start
we,
trimming.
Jan, do we put them in there if it's a good stamp?
No, you can just put them right back in your little
Oh,
bag
in the
if you
bag.
want. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about this.